on our website. Okay. So thank you again. Welcome to Thriving in Your Home and Community, hosted by the Sephardic Community Center and made possible through the generous support of the Parkinson's Foundation. I'm Linda Eber with the Sephardic Community Center, and we have a number of programs for people with Parkinson's, including Rocksteady, boxing, and some caregiver support programs. And we decided to offer this topic tonight because some people in that session asked for practical information. So this is our attempt at providing some practical information, and we hope that it'll be helpful to you. Tonight, I'm going to first introduce Erika Adelman, who will then introduce our panelists, Kathy Livingston and Daniel Elliot. And they'll share a lot of information. And if there are things we don't answer tonight, keep in mind what information you would like, because we're always open to more suggestions for future programs and want to fulfill whatever would be helpful to you. So Erika, thank you so much for participating tonight, as well as Daniel and Kathy. Erika has one of the longest titles I have ever seen, and that's because she is a woman with a multitude of qualifications and numerous talents, skills, and resources at her fingertips. She is a fabulous licensed clinical social worker at the NY-Presbyterian Brooklyn Methodist Hospital. She is also the social work resource liaison for the Parkinson's and Movement Disorders Program and a program coordinator of the American Parkinson's Disease Association Information and Referral Center. So with that, Erika, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Linda, for that warm introduction, and good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. We're happy to see all of you. And we're happy that you're here tonight for the Sephardic Community Center's Thriving in Your Home and Community event. Just before we start our program tonight, I want to go over a couple orders of housekeeping. So please note that everything that we discuss is in confidentiality. We would also like to remind you that these sessions are strictly prohibited from being recorded by all of you. However, we will be recording tonight's speakers, so we will be sharing that on the websites that we have for each of the organizations. Also, during our group, you will have the ability to select speaker view or gallery view, depending on what type of device you're on. If you're on a laptop or a desktop, it's the top right where it says view and with a little box, you can click on that to see the different people or the speakers. And if you're on a tablet, iPhone, Android, you could tap onto the screen and swipe right or left, and then you could see the different presenters for tonight. Now, if you would like to control the mute and unmute, you can go to the bottom left corner where it says mute with a microphone and click that if you're on a desktop or a laptop. But if you're on an Android, tablet, iPhone, you could click on the little microphone at the bottom of the screen. Also, we put you on mute. So if you have any questions, you can either raise your hand or put your questions in the box, and we will try to answer them, as many of them as we can. And if you can't hear someone when they are speaking, just please respectfully ask them to speak up or go like this, because some people have low vocal tone, and we want to make sure that everybody's getting heard. Also, if you have any trouble with your sound or your computer freezes, please give it a minute. And if you're still having difficulties, we suggest that you leave the meeting, go back to the email that we sent you with the link for tonight, and re-sign in. Also, should any of us get kicked off, please stay around and we will get back on as soon as possible. Now, there's lots of calendars of events happening here in Brooklyn, and we wanted to share all of them with you. So the first event that we have is the Sephardic Community Center hosts an in-person Rocksteady boxing classes on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. in collaboration with Evolve Physical Therapy. And classes are offered virtually Mondays at 11:15 and Thursdays at 11. And you can contact Aldo, whose numbers and the information I will put into the chat. And if you don't have access to the chat, we can get that information to you. Also, the Sephardic Community Center offers a healing music for Parkinson's, which is a great way to maintain and develop vocalizing abilities, which is offered via Zoom on Mondays from 12:30 to 1:15. And you can reach out to Amy from the Sephardic Community Center, and her information was on the flyer that was sent out for today. Also, a few months ago at the Sephardic Community Center, we started a Parkinson's disease caregivers support group at night, which I facilitate on the second Wednesday of every month. And our next caregivers support group is next Wednesday, January 11th at 6 o'clock, and it goes till 7:30 p.m. So for the caregivers who work during the day or who are unavailable, we hope that you'll be able to join us at night. And to RSVP for this group, you can reach out to Amy. I also run a Parkinson's disease exercise and wellness program at NY-Presbyterian Brooklyn Methodist Hospital, where we offer yoga twice a month, dance twice a month, a support group once a month for everybody, and a separate support group for caregivers. So if any of you would like to join us, you're more than welcome to do so, and you can contact me. And again, I will put my information into the chat. And lastly, a few months ago, I began facilitating a general support group at night for anyone living with Parkinson's in New York City in collaboration with SeniorHelpers NYC from 6 to 7:30 p.m. And our next support group is scheduled to be held on Wednesday, January 25th. So if you and your loved ones would like to join us, you are more than welcome to contact the SeniorHelpers Liaison, Christina Smith, and I will put her information into the chat too. We hope that you will enjoy tonight's presentation. And without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our first speaker for tonight, Kathy Livingston, who is the president of SeniorHelpers NYC. And Kathy is here to talk about safety and independence, tips for layout, DME, care support, and more. So everybody, let's welcome Kathy.
Hello, everybody. I see some familiar faces. Alexandra, a little hi to you. So I appreciate those familiar faces that I get to see, and I look forward to speaking with the rest of you tonight. If you have questions, put them in the chat. I know Erika and Linda are going to help me out by letting me know that you have them, but certainly if you have them as we go, put them in there so you don't forget, and I promise that I will get to them as quickly as I can. So Erika gave you a pretty big title from me, which is quite a bit to cover in 20 minutes. And I really like to talk. So I'm going to do my best to do this efficiently. And I know some of you might have seen me talk before. And if you have, you've seen this PowerPoint slide. And I think it's good to kind of refresh on it and always look at it with a fresh lens. So we're going to talk about general tips. As Erika said, I'm Kathy Livingston. I own SeniorHelpers. We're a licensed home care agency that works with individuals throughout New York City. And a lot of what I put into the presentation is our learnings of what home life looks like with movement disorders and how can we make it a little bit better. And each day, little tips that can help overcome challenges. One of my favorite quotes, Erika's seen me say this, Linda's seen me say this, and I will always love this quote, is Michael J. Fox said, acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It means understanding that something is what it is, and there's got to be a way through it. And I think, and I will always say this, that these groups are fantastic because they really help us come up with tips and support each other and getting a way through it. Over the last 14 years of working with people in their home, I think the toughest thing that I see is somebody will just deal with something and they will just think that's part of their experience with Parkinson's, or if they have a different movement disorder. And I think what I'm here to say, and also what Daniel's probably here to emphasize as well, is there's always something new to try. So it's worth trying. And if that doesn't work, guess what? There's another thing to try. And that's the point, right? So tips are good, not the same thing, not the same for everybody. So what are we facing? And I think this is a really important thing to look at because everyone's experience is a little bit different. And what I find is that folks will not pick up on a symptom or something that they're experiencing because they don't attribute it to their Parkinson's. And I think it's very, very important to think of some of these symptoms that impact our daily life that we don't think about. So I think double vision is a really big one that people kind of overlook some of the tips that can be done around that. The loss of smell and how that impacts taste and appetite is a huge thing to kind of battle and kind of work with, and sleep disturbances. So I think we generally in home care see a lot of focus on the movement symptoms, but there's so much more, and we need to focus on those as well. I encourage everybody to take and keep a daily journal of what their experiences have been throughout the day. Because one thing we do know is that your symptoms can change over time. So it's super important that you pick up on anything, because I think a lot of times we're not even thinking, oh, I can relate this back to a symptom. It's just something I've started living with day to day. Keeping those journals is fantastic. And then here's the really important part, the biggest part of this tip, you got to go back to them. So like write it down, date it. You have a great, fantastic conversation with your home care person or your Jukebox rep or Erika or Linda, and you take something home as a tip to try, and then it does or it doesn't work, and you just like forget about it, right? Like we forgot about it. We tried to do something and it didn't work. This journal is a great place to keep coming back to revisit.
What? No. Okay.
Oh, tips for daily living. So one of the things we're going to look at is I'm going to go through some of the big areas of daily living and activities that you do on a daily basis, and some tips in those general areas. So kitchen and mealtime. So number one is creating a mealtime schedule, considering your times needed to eat as they relate to your medications. So I'm a big talker about medication on time. So for those of you that don't know, medication on time is your medication's most effective times, right? So we want to make sure that we're eating and bathing and doing those activities when our medications are at their height, so that our swallowing is at its best, our appetite is at its best. So, and those are conversations you can go back to your medical team and say, hey, this is working or it's not working, or can we adjust this schedule? So making sure that you're thinking about your eating time, which I'm a big lover of the eating times, right? So making sure that we're thinking about our eating time, and then we're also thinking about how do our medications work? Not just, am I going to get an upset stomach if I don't eat with this, but is this my medication on time or is it an off time? Keeping lime and lemon sorbet or applesauce handy is really good. It helps balance the saliva production in your mouth, which can sometimes be an issue. Obviously, having enough saliva and wetness helps with better swallowing. So that's something that if you keep by and you have dry mouth, it's a really easy way. It's also a little bit easier than water, because water is so thin that sometimes that can complicate matters. Filling cups and bowls half full. So something as silly and simple as that, which allows us to have less spills. And the really good news about that, we get to go back for seconds too. So that's also a really good thing. Minimizing meal times and distractions. We had a fantastic client, and for 20 years after his wife passed away, he would eat dinner in front of the TV, and one day he just couldn't eat anymore. And we thought maybe it was food, and we tried different plates, and we finally realized that it had become difficult to focus on the motor needs of eating and the cognitive needs of eating, in addition to watching television. So in that situation, we really, were with this person and understood that they were at a place where they needed distractions minimized, even though that's not how they had been previously. And I think that's what's important and really highlights that journal and changes. Kitchen mealtime tips. You want to sit in an upright position with your chin pointed down. So what's super important here is really taking away that you're eating at the right place and you're physically situated the way you should be to avoid any choking. And then soft, even textured foods. You can really go into so much with kitchen and mealtime. You can get into different smoothies and recipes and nutritionist things to help you in that. There's also layout stuff you can consider, like where you keep your bowls and your dishes, and making sure that if you used to keep them in a really high cabinet, that you're adjusting that. There's a lot here that you could do. And certainly if you have any questions on that, I'm happy to answer those. Moving into the bathroom. So the bathroom is one of the scariest places because our bathrooms are typically tiny and they have lots of hard, sharp, not friendly surfaces. So we want to be very careful in them. Again, we want to focus on our medication on times. I would actually say to you that bathing during a medication on time is so important, almost more important than eating during a medication on time. Some things you can do to kind of help out with this in advance are preparing items in advance. And there's something that's called sequencing. So if you put your items out in the order that you're going to use them, for example, if you put your underwear on first, you would have that on top and you would use them in that order. It makes it just that much easier to get dressed when you get out. You can do the same thing with the stuff that you're using in the bathroom. Substituting washcloths with a soft mitt or sponge, it allows you to have the soft mitt on and you can wash yourself much easier. You can also use that with shampoo. Using electric toothbrushes, using dental floss swords are a little bit easier than using the fine motor skills of a standard toothbrush and floss. And then shower curtains. Glass doors are scary. I know they're pretty. They're awful to clean. Get rid of the glass doors. They're so dangerous. If you have a shower curtain, it's lighter, it's easier. Getting the benches, I'll defer to Daniel as more of an expert in that area. I'm a big fan of the benches that come over the outside of the tub, so you don't have to go over the tub to get onto the bench. Handheld shower heads and pump type dispensers. So you can get those dispensers that you install on your wall that you fill with your soap and shampoo and conditioner and whatever you use. So instead of having to turn the bottle, you're using pumps to actually get out what you need. It makes it easier. Elevated toilet seats, bedsides, commodes. And I always have the tip when you're going to the bathroom, even for the guys, it's safer to say seated. So your blood pressure drops when you urinate. And for those of us that have labile blood pressure from Parkinson's, you are at a higher risk when you're urinating of your blood pressure dropping and potentially having a fall. So safer just to take a seat. And then you always want to dress your weaker side first. It'll just help you a little bit more in getting dressed. So sleeping tips. I love eating. I also love sleeping. So maybe that's why I'm doing tips in these areas. So satin and smooth sheets and pajamas are not only very fancy and fun, but they make movement easier. So if you think about it, and I'm like a big flip-flopper in bed when I'm sleeping, and if you are as well, then it's hard to move if you have textured surfaces that have friction. So if you get satin or smooth sheets and pajamas, it's a little bit more slick. It makes that movement just a little bit easier and they're fun. So that's a little tip there. A lot of people have transfer pads, which help. So if somebody's in the center of a bed and they need help getting out of bed, you can buy a transfer pad and it helps pull them over to the edge of the bed. You also can simply take a flat sheet and fold it and have it in the center of the bed. So you can slide that over for somebody to come over as well if they're having difficulty getting to the edge of the bed to get out. Medications. So our experience with movement disorders and medications overnight is very interesting because a lot of time we see the medications for motor symptoms decreased overnight, and that makes things a little bit more difficult. So what I would say is you really need to be in heavy communication with your medical team in your journal of how your medications are doing with nighttime. Also, plenty of people wake up and need their medication for freezing episodes, motor symptoms, whatever symptoms they have before they get out of bed. So keeping that close by, handy, well labeled is a good idea. Minimal lighting and then water in a lidded cup. So again, going back to that dry mouth being a common symptom, making sure that you have that handy. Movement tips. So I love these because I think they're fun and they give you something to do. And nobody ever really likes to do them at home, but I think they'd be fun to do. So facial expression exercises, it's good just to move those muscles, right? And to really exaggerate it. So when I was little, my mom would say, make a happy face, make a sad face, make a mad face. And you can do it now too, and it really helps exercise and move those muscles, which is a good thing. If you struggle with shuffling, it's helpful to stop in the middle of a shuffling episode. If you realize that you're doing it, really think about what you're doing and try to march. Again, it's going back to that exaggerated movement to help you in that moment. Also, counting helps a lot. I think there's a lot to be said for you're focusing on what you're doing. So if you're walking and you're shuffling, or you're walking and you're on a sidewalk and you're worried about bumps, you can count through the steps with somebody. You want to walk into turns. So instead of, if you have to make an abrupt turn, instead of just so quickly changing your body position, you can actually like curve into it so that it's not such a shock to your balance. If you're helping somebody, you want to remember to provide balance support, not physical support. So this is very similar to on our subways for our subway riders. You don't always need to hold the pole, but you need to be touching something to help you balance. We want to make sure that we're not holding somebody up. That's unsafe for them and unsafe for us. So if you're helping, you want to give balance support. If they need more than that, then they should be talking to their therapy team about the right DME for them. Mark floors with grids and or X's. Again, marking the floors with grids and X's seems to help people focus and prevents tripping. If you're having tremors, you can stretch your arms forward or stabilize your upper arm by pressing in the body. And if freezing, you can walk somebody through pushing their heels into the floor, standing in an upright position and trying to rock out of it. So those are some of our movement tips. General home safety, arranging furniture for clear paths and in place. So what I'm getting here about preventing forward motion is if you think about how you place your furniture, it can help prevent dangerous falls. So we had a gentleman, for example, who fell through a sliding glass door before we were caring for him. And so when we went in there, we rearranged his furniture so that his couch was in a place where it kind of protected him from very dangerous areas. You want to remove casters, wheels on furniture, throw rugs. This is kind of more Daniel's area, so I'll just run through it. I think some of the things I really like is replacing doorknobs with lever handles. It makes life easier. Instead of grabbing, you can just press. Install stair and hallway railings. So Daniel has a great company that, I mean, you can put railings in lots of places to keep you safe. And here's the thing. The number of times I've gone into somebody's home and they said my super installed a towel bar, and that's what I use for my grab bar in and out of the shower. It's just not safe. It's not safe. You want to make sure you're getting weight appropriate. They're properly installed. They're in the right area. And overall, you just keep a positive attitude because there's going to be tough days. And again, it's all about kind of being committed to knowing there's tips, allow extra time for everything, to try to remain patient, not get frustrated. If you're caring for somebody, you want to, again, think about that medication on time. You want to allow participation in the ADLs. We always, if we're a care provider and you're helping someone, you want to let them know what you're about to do before you just jump in and do it, because you don't want to startle anyone. Be observant of change, keep it in that tip book, and encourage support groups. As Erika said, there are just so many good options for support groups, and Zoom has really opened up the ability to make that easier for all of our family caregivers. So resources, there's a ton of adapted devices, there's technology, and there's care professionals. So quickly on these items, so there's almost an adaptive device for everything now, right? Here's, I think, some of my favorites. I love the key holder because keys are hard to hold, and most of these can be purchased Amazon, Dwayne Reed, pretty easily accessible. I love the nosy cup. So you'll see in the middle there, the woman drinking, the cup that she has a cutout for her nose, so she doesn't have to put her head back as far. So there's a ton of things that you can get. I think if you keep that journal and then you bring it into your social worker or your medical team, or you can always call SeniorHelpers. We're happy to give tips to people. They can come up with some other things that you might be able to use for whatever you're going through. There's always new technology coming out with tremor gloves. There's medication systems. There's some really great new medication systems. And I think it's fantastic if you're taking medications every 2 hours, which we see often. There's a lot to help with communication if that's some of the challenges that you're facing as well. So care professionals, this is one of the things I want to talk about. There are so many care professionals that I think it can become overwhelming. And what we often find in meeting with a family is that they get part of it done and then feel relief. Like, oh, we got the home care done, so we don't need to worry about the therapy, or we don't need to worry about altering the home. I would say do it all. Like it's easily accessible. You have a good team. I know if you're on this, that means that you know Erika or Linda, that you have access to people that can help with all of these areas. Your medical team is part of it. PTOT team, and the PTOT team is not just about your physical therapy, but it's, you know, the right DME, it's the LSVT program, it's so many things, speech and swallowing therapy, the support groups. I have move managers on here. Move managers are really good sometimes if you need to reorganize. Care managers are groups of social workers typically that will come in and help with everything from finding new residents to setting up home care, PTOT, all the things. So they kind of are a well-rounded group of professionals that approach, and then home care. So I, you know, having run a home care agency for 14 years, I can promise that no one's ever excited that they need home care, but when you know that you might need it, that means you need it. If you're sure that you need it, you probably already needed it. I would say it's something you shouldn't be so scared of, and really start exploring earlier in your journey so that you're familiar when you're ready to do it. Some of the cues that we say for giving a call to get some help would be weight loss. Definitely falls. Takes one bad fall. So the minute there's a fall, that's time to get some help. Difficulty with everyday tasks, depression. Some people are like, well, we don't need it, I'm just sad. Well, that's a reason. And confusion. So never too early to be safe. Hindsight is 2020. I don't know if there's a ton of questions about home care. I'm happy to answer them. I would say some of the things I would look for is making sure if you're going with somebody that they're insured, they're licensed by the State Department of Health. They should really be addressing your health needs, your social needs, your family needs. They should be fitting within your financial budget, both short-term and long-term, having a plan. And they should feel like part of your team. So I tried to go really quickly in the essence of time. I hope I didn't go too quickly. If you have any questions now, you're absolutely welcome to ask them. And I know often I get calls after, so you are also always welcome to call me after if you wanted to talk one-on-one. Think we're good. Let's see.
Thank you, Kathy. You want to open this up to questions?
Yeah, and I will stop the share now.
If questions, you either raise your hand or shut it down. Okay, Edith. Hold on, let's unmute you. Remember, that's my fault.
I wrote it down on the chat, but I forgot what I wanted to ask. It was about balance. You mentioned 2 types, but I don't remember the 2 types that you mentioned.
With balance, and you said
Balance.
you wrote it in the chat?
Yes, but I wrote that I did not remember. I think number 7, no? I just wrote it.
Well, keep thinking about it. We're going to be on here for a while, Edith. So if it comes to you again, you can, I don't see it in mine. Do you think maybe you wrote it to just Erika? Does it
No,
say to?
it's yes, to Erika.
Oh, it's to Erika. Did you get it, Erika?
Well,
I wrote, what is the difference between balance, one type of balance that you mentioned, but I don't remember, and another type.
It's not
At
ringing.
at the beginning on the list.
Let me go back for a second. It's not coming to mind what you're thinking about right away. Are you talking on the symptoms?
Yes, I think so.
I don't see anything. There were some tips on balance. Do you think maybe you were thinking about that?
No, the words, two words on the same sentence. Balance, but I don't remember.
Gait and balance?
Does it have anything to do with the freezing or tremors?
Or the
It was there.
The freezing and the
Or,
tremors.
after tremors was the first things, and then you had another list.
Was it about maybe it was the movement tips? Hold on a second.
Please.
I know when you were talking about the movement tips, when you were talking, like I was having a question also about the freezing and the tremors tips, because that went by really quickly.
Oh, I think, Edith, are you talking about when I was talking about balance support, not physical support?
Yes, the word was support.
Okay.
Yes.
So what happens a lot of times when we're caring for somebody that needs balance support, they need help. Sometimes we get in the really bad habit of supporting them too much when it's safer to have a walker or a cane or a wheelchair. So what we want to make sure is we're not providing physical support. We're not holding the person up.
Physical, yes.
We want to make sure that we're not holding their weight, but we're helping them orient themselves. Does that make sense?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Does that help? You're welcome. Yeah, because if we try to hold somebody up too much and we're carrying their weight, we could get hurt or they could get hurt. It's better to make sure that as long as they're able to carry their own physical support and their weight, we can kind of hold a little to guide and provide like a point of reference for balance, but we really shouldn't be physically supporting the person. Then we should be getting in touch, honestly, with a therapist for decision on the best device for them, whether it's a walker or wheelchair or whatever the case might be. So
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking. Linda, you had a question on that slide. Do you want to ask it?
Yes.
I don't know where you are. Okay.
It's in the same section, and it was like at the bottom of it when you were talking, I think, about freezing tips or tremor tips, the last two that went by me pretty fast.
Sure. So with freezing and tremor, I feel like what you see a lot of times is we get worked up, right? We're like, oh my gosh, we're having an episode now. And that's exactly what we want to try to not do. We want to try to take a minute, orient ourselves. With freezing, with tremor. So with freezing, to get out of a freezing episode, we want to make sure that we stand upright and we can kind of rock. And the reason that we talk about these tips is I think they're really good tips for a caregiver to walk somebody through, right? And know that we can do it. So it's more for a tip for if you're with a loved one or someone that you're helping, you want to say, okay, let's take a second, take a deep breath, let's stand up. Let's rock side to side. And so we can try to get out of that freezing episode. Where with tremors, we want to maybe try to push our upper arms into our torso. And again, you know, a lot of what I have found in working with folks with movement disorders is that it's really mind over matter in some situations, right? Like our anxiety and our like impatience and frustration can take over, and that doesn't help the situation. So some of these tips kind of walk us through that in a way that it eliminates some of that. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
There was a question.
Erika put a resource into the chat also about an article. About
weight and weight loss was asked. Weight loss can happen for a lot of reasons. If somebody's having difficulty even preparing food, right? If our fine motor skills have become a challenge and chopping or carrying, cooking in and of itself can become difficult. Sometimes we just choose not to eat, right? Or we eat food that's not high calorically or nutritional for us, and we can see weight loss. That could be a reason. Another reason is because we simply have a loss of taste and smell. For those of us who don't have movement disorders, who had COVID and lost their taste? I did. And I didn't want to eat. And it was the first time I ever experienced that in my life, but it became a very strange experience. So it could be loss of taste. It could be inability to prepare the foods. It could be swallowing. So it's really finding out what it is for that person and then finding the best tips for that person.
Yeah, and I put an article in the chat about this. There was a question that Jack asked, is care managing what SeniorHelpers does?
So we sometimes do it, even though like we just do it for free to help people out. I think Erika and I were always talking about this because you always want to help. Care management really, and what I meant is there's a whole group of professionals called geriatric care managers or just care managers. And they're typically social workers, some nurses that have kind of gone out on their own, and you can hire them hourly to do anything from help you in your home, go to doctor's appointments, do long-term planning. They can help with a host of things. It's really kind of across the board. Some people will describe it as a rent-a-daughter, that you come in and you kind of do all the things and they handle that for you. So they often find home care for somebody like SeniorHelpers. So we work with a lot of geriatric care managers.
Thank you. Okay, we can do one more question and then we will have time to revisit with Kathy a little later on. So anybody else?
I saw a hand from Jane Harris. Jane, did you have a question?
Because I talked it over with hubby. My question was, does Medicare cover home care? But he said we found out it didn't, and I forgot.
It can though. So here's the thing, there's never an easy answer, right? So there's short-term care and there's long-term care. Medicare is often for what's called recoverable situations. So you can get Medicare sometimes, but it's typically after a fall or after a triggering event where you can get better from it. And it's very short-lived. I mean, it used to be more, now it's often maybe 20 hours and it's, a couple shifts a week. So Medicare can cover it in that way. Otherwise, it's long-term, right? Because it's a long-term progressive situation. That's what we do. So it's either private pay, Medicaid, long-term care insurance, there's VA benefits, but everybody can access their Medicare. So we often have clients that will use that and then use us after, or use us if they want more hours than what the Medicare is doing.
And it's 20 hours a week for how long with Medicare?
It really depends. So what happens is you'll get referred to a certified home health agency. They're called CHAS, and they will send out somebody and you'll get assessed and they'll kind of tell you what you can get. It really depends on which one you go to. I'm sure Erika has some, being in a medical setting, that she could recommend.
Okay, great. That's helpful. Thank you.
Question. Sure.
All right. Well, thank you, Kathy, for all
Thank
the
you, everybody.
information. We really appreciate you being here. Hopefully everybody learned a lot from Kathy. I know that I did, but moving on to our second speaker for tonight, Daniel Elliot, who is an occupational therapist and home modification specialist from Jukebox Health. And Daniel is here to talk to you tonight about creative ways to make the home safe and meet your current and future needs. So without further ado, let's welcome Daniel.
Awesome. Thank you, Erika. And thanks so much for being here. And thank you, Kathy, for all the awesome information as well. So like Erika said, my name's Dan Elliott. I'm an occupational therapist, and I'm going to talk about home modifications or home safety adaptations. Really quick, what Jukebox Health does, we're a full service home modification company. So we have OTs, we send occupational therapists into the home. And then we have installers who also complete the home modification projects as well. Quick background about myself. I'm an OT, home modification specialist. I'm also LSVT certified. I was working in private practice, doing Medicare covered treatments. Probably most of my patients that I was working with had Parkinson's as well. I always put in a picture of my dog here too. Her name's Gracie. I put her in here because sometimes she may bark. I'm at home right now, so I make sure to put her in there. A little bit more about my background and why I'm so interested in home modifications is because in 2014, I used to be a Jones Beach lifeguard, and during a rescue, I actually dove in and ended up fracturing my neck. So I got airlifted to the hospital, had to get surgery, got a cervical spine fusion, and the number one thing that I wanted to do after that surgery, which fortunately turned out well, the number one thing I wanted to do was get home, right? And unfortunately, I was not walking great. I was in a wheelchair at the time. And this picture on the right is a picture of my home. So you can see there's a couple steps. there's another turn and steps to enter, there's a narrow doorway, and nothing really existed. There were no resources for somebody to go, hey, there's an opportunity for you to get home sooner or more quickly, and that would be through adapting the home environment. So this sort of lack of service really got me interested in saying, okay, how many people are out there with this concern who can't get home, or whose home is a barrier to them being able to live their life and do the things that they want. Fortunately, I was able to start walking a little better from, you know, all the great work from my rehab team, which led me to become an occupational therapist. So I was able to amble my way up those stairs and get home. But again, this made me become an occupational therapist and really pursue home modifications. So diving right into home safety and home modifications, what we're seeing is that in the US, there's a big issue with safety and housing, and actually less than 10% of homes have the key accessibility features. So these are all homes in the US. They're definitely not set up right for aging, and especially for somebody who's been diagnosed with Parkinson's. Maybe when you purchased your home or you were living in your home, you didn't expect that diagnosis to happen, but certainly now your home is not going to be set up right for you so that you can live your life to the fullest. This big issue with housing and accessibility and a lot of the houses in the US being unsafe is leading to a lot of falls. So they did a study, and actually 80% of falls that occur in the home is because somebody is slipping or tripping on something. So they're directly due to home hazards. Fortunately, there's a lot of different things that you can do throughout the home to prevent those falls, to stay safe, be more functional, and overall make the home more accessible as well. And I'm going to go through all of those different things and kind of hopefully show you some things that you may not have seen before in all different areas of the home. There's some really amazing research out there that shows that with home modifications and adapting the home environment, you can reduce falls by up to 60%. So you can address the physical environment, reduce your fall risk, improve accessibility, and then also, like Kathy mentioned, you start surrounding yourself with other care professionals. You're going to be doing really well and have all of the right things in place. And now I'm going to dive into all the different modifications and adaptations that exist out there. This is just a snapshot from the bathroom to technology, bedroom, living room, kitchen, even outside of your home as well. And we're going to start with bathroom modifications first. So as Kathy mentioned, this is a big one, right? There's a lot of tile in there. It could be a scary place. It could be slippery as well. So you have your classic grab bar, right? It gets mounted into a stud. It's really safe, helps you get in and out of the shower, up and down from the toilet. But they also make really interesting grab bars that can blend into your home as well. So Kathy also mentioned this, the Super puts in a towel rack. Those are not grab bar grade. She hit that on the head. So you can actually replace your towel rack with a towel rack grab bar. So it serves as a grab bar, and it also holds your towel for you. Another example of this, what I call incognito grab bars, is a toilet paper grab bar holder. So this can go right next to your toilet on the wall. It holds your toilet paper, and also, again, it's grab bar grade as well. Cool. This is a really interesting piece of equipment. It's called the Super Pole. It's made by Healthcraft, which actually is a company that was founded by occupational therapists as well. It's pressure mounted, and it holds 500 plus pounds of force. And you're even able to rotate this handle here. So you can put it in front of the toilet. Let's say one of your symptoms of Parkinson's is like you have trouble leaning your weight forward. This can be a really great thing to be able to grab onto and pull yourself up from a low surface, like a toilet. And in addition, again, you can rotate that arm piece, and it allows you to get in and out of the shower safely. So if you're having difficulty stepping over the shower or need support to take that big step and get into the shower area, this is a great solution for that. Okay, there's also like aesthetic grab bars as well, and even grab bars, again, that blend right in. This is a shower shelf that also serves as a grab bar. The idea of these different grab bars is that you're blending them into your environment, but you're also putting grab bars in strategic places that maybe your occupational therapist or some other home modification expert has recommended, so that anything that you're doing in the shower area, you always have a place to hold on to. Same thing with shower shelving as well, that can go on the wall there too. So these are all grab bar grade. They hold your shower equipment, and they look good too. Another big thing to talk about specifically with the bathroom is when we need to go to the bathroom at night. So this is a point in time where we may have to get up and walk to the bathroom, and maybe it's during an off period in your carbidopa, in your medication schedule. So you're going to want to be extra careful when you're having to get up and go to the bathroom. And lighting is one of the biggest, or lack of lighting is one of the biggest reasons for people tripping and slipping on their way to the bathroom. So there's automated lighting, which you can see here in the picture. As soon as you get up and start to move, those lights turn on, the hallway's well lit, and you can see the pathway going to the bathroom, which is really great. In addition, there's motion censored lighting. So these can plug into any of the outlets in your bathroom as well. As soon as they sense your motion, they're going to turn on, and you can start to see different areas of your bathroom. The last thing I want to touch on is some equipment. Kathy mentioned it before too. So the tub benches. So this is a version of a tub bench that is a sliding transfer tub bench. So you can sit down in this seat here, and then it rotates and then slides into the tub as well. This works well with a tub, but it works even better with a tub cut. And all a tub cut is you take a small piece of the tub and just lower it a little bit. That way you can slide in and out easily. This is really good when caregivers are helping get somebody into the tub to do all of their showering activities. Cool. Last thing I want to show is just some of the more higher level modifications or adaptations that can be done. This is a before and after of a tub conversion. So what a tub conversion is when you actually remove the tub and replace it with a curbless floor. So what that means is if you're in like a wheelchair or don't want to worry about stepping over anything, you can convert your tub into a curbless shower area. And then here's just another example of exactly that. Cool. So the next is living room and stairway modifications. So of course you have your railings, and you really want to make sure that railings are situated on both sides. That's for going in and out of the home, up and down the stairs in your home. That's super important to have two places, both arms taken up with handholds with railings. For stairs specifically, having stair treads and a little extra grip is a great way to prevent slipping, especially on stairs that are carpeted or even wooded. Over time, wooden stairs, they lose some of their friction and become really, really slippery. So putting down some of these, stair treads is a great way to maintain the friction and not slip. And then in addition, of course, you have your stair lifts as well. I'm a big proponent of working with your therapist and your other providers to make sure that you're continuing to go up and down the stairs as long as you possibly can. It's good exercise. It's great for lower your leg strength. It's great for endurance. And that's why we're big proponents of the hand railings first and other things to the stairs. But the stair lift is a great option if it's really just becoming too difficult to navigate up and down those stairs. And you don't want, say your bedroom or your main bathroom is up there. You don't want to have to move everything back, downstairs to the first floor. If you can have a stair lift installed to be able to get up there. Stair lifts also are great because they make them so narrow now that you could potentially use a stair lift during your off period and then the stairs during your on period. That's something that I would recommend going through like with your therapist through a therapist plan of care and kind of figuring that out though. Cool. Just another example of stair treads. These tape right to the staircase. They also have a glow in the dark feature, which is pretty cool. And here is some motion censored LED lights. Again, they're motion censored. So as soon as you start going down the stairs, each one of those stairs is going to be lit up, and they're adhesive and battery powered. So they don't need any outlets or anything. There's just somebody using it. And other small things that can go around the home, if there's sharp corners or anything like that, you can put those corner covers on. And I keep referencing Kathy, she's hitting everything. This lever attachment is really easy to install. It's a piece of hard rubber and it can go over doorknobs so that it becomes a lever handle. This is not only important for just being able to easily open the door, but during emergencies when you have to get out of the home quickly and safely, and you can open the door quickly, that's always a good thing. Cool. The other thing, a lot of times OTs, occupational therapists, are recommending what's called the couch cane. A lot of us have really comfy, low couches, and sometimes it could be hard to get up from those because they're a little lower than some of the other seating surfaces. So the couch cane goes right next to the couch. You can actually have a tray attached to it as well. It comes with an attachment like that. But the actual couch sits on top of the bottom piece, weighing it down, and it gives you a nice handhold to be able to stand up easily. All right, moving on to kitchen modifications. So this is something in terms of emergencies and safety that's recommended a lot. And what that is, if you can see this little white box on top of the stove, that's an automatic stove shut-off system. So if you have any worries about leaving the stove on, I know I do sometimes, the stovetop on or the stove on, this automatic stove shut-off, after a certain period of time, is going to shut the stove off. So you don't have to worry about causing a fire or anything like that. Safety is a really big piece of the home safety equation. And what I mean by that is in the event of emergencies. So having automatic stove shutoffs, having fire extinguishers, all of those things that are really important for any emergency. Another kitchen modification is kind of a lazy Susan that comes out from the cabinet. So if you're experiencing blood pressure issues when you're bending down and standing back up, and you don't want to be reaching into the back of your drawers and cabinets, this is a great addition to your cabinet space because these surfaces come right out once you open the door, and they're all right in front of you. All your pots, pans, and things like that for cooking. And here's just another example of that. I really like this picture because it's just a good example of a wheelchair accessible space. So this person has bench seating. So on one side, their family can sit, and then on the other, the table is actually wheelchair accessible as well. The middle of the room, there's no clutter, there's no things in the way to access the fridge or anything like that. Cool. We're going to touch on entry and exits as well. So really important, and this is for all entries and exits, but specifically into the bathroom. A lot of times we see a hallway that may be carpeted and then a bathroom with tile, and you're going to have a raised lip between there. And if you're experiencing some shuffling, or if you're using a rollator or a walker, that lip can become a tripping hazard. So a great way to remedy that is to do a graded door threshold. And that's exactly what this is in the picture. So it makes it smooth, makes it easy to go over in your walker or rollator, prevents you from catching your toe if you're experiencing any shuffling as well. And then of course you have your ramps, which are always measured very specifically so that the slope of the ramp is not too steep to go up or down. And then you also have vertical platform lifts. So if you're using a wheelchair and you need to be able to get up and down, and exit your home, vertical platform lifts are a great way for that. And that's it for the examples, but there are hundreds of other types of adaptations, and it can seem a little overwhelming, but my number one advice is always make sure you consult with an occupational therapist or someone who specializes in these things. They're going to have this list of all of these possible solutions that are specific, not only to you, but to your home as well. And it's always really important to talk with an occupational therapist because they're going to be able to sit down with you and not only talk clinically, but have a lot of this experience with home safety and home safety adaptations. So that's home safety.
Right. Thank you, Daniel. We're going to open it up for questions. Questions? Jane, is there a hand up?
Yep. Hello, thank you. That was great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Couple of questions. I've heard that sometimes this kind of equipment is covered by Medicare. Is that correct?
So Medicare covers durable medical equipment. So walkers, wheelchairs, commodes, canes, hospital beds, those types of things. Some of the more like the grab bars and some of those other things Medicare doesn't cover, but long-term care will cover it. There's different societies and foundations that will cover it as well. And us in particular, we partnered with Rebuilding Together, which offers free labor services or free contractors as well. So, it's not so straightforward, but there are ways to subsidize each, home safety project. But Medicare covers, the durable medical equipment piece.
And can I have another question? Is that okay?
Sure.
Fine with me.
So we live in a very small co-op building without an elevator, and we live just about 1.5 flights up from this, coming in the front door up to our apartment, which hubby's managing not too badly right now. But have you ever come up with a situation where, because I'm thinking at some point I'd love to get him a chairlift, and I suppose I'd have to get permission from the co-op. I don't know whether they're going to go for it or not. So do you know, have you ever dealt with any situations like that?
Yeah, that happens quite often in New York.
Oh.
Yeah, so the key is working with building management. That's number one.
Oh,
that happens.
Go on. We don't have building management. We manage the building between the 4 of us. We're only 4 units. We're a very small building. We don't have building management.
Gotcha.
So I've got to get permission from the other owners.
Yeah, that's a situation where you're just going to want to make sure that the stairlift technician has all the proper insurances and coverage for that. And if it's approved, then it's something that can certainly be done.
Because you just said also, which I think is interesting, is there some are narrower, and isn't there a way to collapse the chair when it's not being used, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the footrest, the seat, and the armrest all fold up. I think they've got it down now to about 12 inches in width when it's all folded up. So it's pretty narrow, which is good.
That's really good. Okay.
Yeah.
And would I call you to help us, or what would I do?
Yeah, you can certainly call.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we do a lot of stair lifts and looking at the space and doing measuring and everything like that. So.
Right. That would be great. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. There was a question that came in the chat. Does Medicaid pay for any of these home modifications?
Yes, they do if you're part of certain waiver programs. So the Medicaid has something called the Nursing Home Transition and Diversion Waiver Program, where they actually cover up to $15,000 of home modifications. However, each county within New York has an organization called a RRDC, which is a Regional Resource Development Center. And they can help you navigate coverage for Medicaid to get the home modifications installed and get that process started. So that's something we see a lot. People will call us up, and as the home modification provider, we can't necessarily go to Medicaid and say, hey, this person needs this stuff, but we'll connect them with the Medicaid Resource Center, and they can initiate the process for them. The other way you can initiate that process, if you have a case manager as part of your Medicaid coverage, calling that person and having a conversation with them is a great way to initiate the process and basically figure out how to navigate that system. It can be a little complicated, but the case managers are very capable of helping you navigate that, and there is coverage.
Thank you. There was another question. It says, are you familiar with the PureWick system for female incontinence, and do you think it's a good idea?
I am unfortunately not familiar with that. I will say there's an occupational therapy specialty for pelvic floor, and that's a person who may know more about that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mary Lou? Hold on, you're on mute.
Okay, I'm interested in the grab bar, the shower shelf, and the toilet rack, and the toilet paper holder that are actually grab bars.
Mhm.
The shower shelf and the toilet paper, and you mentioned something else, the towel rack. Is there a company in particular that makes those?
So Healthcraft is the manufacturer of those.
Healthcraft?
Hmm.
Thank you very much.
You got it.
Got it. Thank you.
Harry?
Thank you. This is really informative. Is Kathy still on? Is there a phone number you can be reached at? I don't see a specific one on the flyer.
I put it in the chat, but it is 646-214-2086.
Thank you.
And I had put her email in the chat, and if anybody can't access the chat, we are happy to provide it to any of you. Thank you for that. Any other questions? Oh, there was a question. Is Jukebox held in any other states other than New York?
Yeah, we are. So we're in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and soon to be Florida. So that's where we're at.
Thank you. And what about SeniorHelpers?
So SeniorHelpers is a national franchise. So I happen to be the owner in New York City. So we have some great owners and locations throughout the country. And if you need connected with a local office, I'm happy to help with that.
Thank you for that. All right, any other questions before we close up? No. Well, thank you, Daniel, for your wonderful presentation and for being here with us tonight as well. We
Thank you.
really appreciate all that you and Kathy do for the Parkinson's community. And we hope that everyone here learned a lot. Before we wrap up, does anybody have any final questions, comments, concerns, or good feedback?
Very informative. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for making the time, everybody. We appreciate it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you very
So
much.
much. Thank you.
And I'd like to just thank
Very
Kathy.
helpful.
I'd like to thank Kathy and Daniel and Erika. Thank you so much for participating with us. And as we said at the beginning, if you have concerns, issues, ideas for information that you would like for other educational programs or services, please be in touch and let us know, because the best programs are the ones that respond to your specific needs. So really, please stay in touch with us and keep us posted on any of your concerns. Thank you. Thanks for everybody participating and for our fabulous presenters. I learned a lot, so thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to thank the Parkinson's Foundation again for sponsoring tonight's event. Linda and Amy for putting this whole thing together and allowing me to moderate it. I appreciate that. Christina for the tech support. And of course, Kathy and Daniel for all the helpful tips that you gave us tonight. Lastly, we'd like to thank all of you for being here on behalf of the Sepharda Community Center, SeniorHelpers NYC, Jukebox Health, NY-Presbyterian Brooklyn Methodist Hospital, and all of my colleagues on this call tonight. We'd like to wish you and your loved ones nothing but the best in the year ahead. And we hope to see you at future programs, classes, and groups in 2023. Good night.
Erika.
Thank you.
Where,
Thank
Erika,
you.